Comparing two independent population mean. Objective. Dear students, after the end of this video, you will be able to test a difference between two population means, read results of hypotheses, testing a difference between two population means, interpret results of hypothesis testing a difference between two population means. The standard error is in this formula. Square root of standard error square for the first sample and divided by n1, which indicates the number of elements in sample 1, plus s2 square divided by 2n2. When we build the confidence interval and the test statistics for the test of hypothesis for a single mean back in confidence interval and hypothesis testing with one sample, we used the technique of substituting the sample variance for population variance when we didn't have the population variance. The result of the test statistic t-score is calculated as follows. Is calculated as follows. The t-test is in this formula, which contains sample space for first population and is calculated as follows. The t-score test is equal to this formula, which contains two different sample space and two different mean for each sample space, 1 and 2, where S1 and S2 are the sample standard deviation, which estimated of sigma 1 and sigma 2 respectively, and sigma 1 and sigma 2 are unknown population standard deviation. X1 par and X2 par are the sample mean. Mu1 and mu2 are unknown population means. The number of degrees of freedom, df, requires a somewhat complicated calculation. The df are not always a whole number. The test statistic above is approximated by student t distribution with df's as follows. The degrees of freedom is known as in this formula, which, as we said, is complicated calculation. A degree of freedom اللي هي درجة آسفة ما راح أذكرها بالعربي، ما راح تعنيها. The degrees of freedom is in this formula, which contains the sample standard deviation and the sample size for each different sample space. When both sample size N1 and N2 are 30 or larger, the student t approximation is very good. If each sample has more than 30 observations, then the degrees of freedom can be calculated as N1 plus N2 minus 2. The format of the sampling distribution difference is sample means. The null and alternative hypothesis is known as H0 and HA. H0, mu1 minus mu2 equal the sigma, and mu1 minus mu2 does not equal the hypothesis. So we have عندنا هنا اقتراحين أو مقترحين hypothesis احتمالات متوقعة نقترحها ونشوف الاختبار عليها هل تناسب أو هل تتحقق أو لا تتحقق. Where the hypothesis difference between the two means is in this sigma. If the question is simple, does there exist any difference between the mean? Then sigma naught are the null and alternative hypotheses are as follows. So the hypothesis H naught and HA contains mu1 equal mu2 or does not equal mu1 and equal to mu.